This week I learned that just every once in a while, you gotta take things back to basics. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update as we're headed towards the holiday season here in the States, and lots of fun things have been going on in real life on the channel. Well, it's kind of a hit and miss here and there kind of thing, but hey, we're always here to talk about those things as the weekly update does demand. So guys, we're going to kick things off like usual. We're going to talk about what am I reading. I'm continuing with the Pillars of the Earth. It's a beast of a book, guys. A very, very beast of a book. Loving it. I don't want to repeat too much of the stuff I've said in the last two weekly updates, but I am very much enjoying my reread. Some things I think that are a little more, I don't want to say clear to me, because I don't think that I ever misunderstood anything when I read it as a teenager, but there are things, I can understand and relate to a little bit more, some adult things. There was one scene in here where, to put it bluntly, guys, it's a very gratuitous sex scene. And, I always rail on fantasy authors, male fantasy authors, about like, dude, stop. You're not good at this. Stop. Kid's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's pretty good at writing. At least you know what's going on. But I was like, how did I react reading this as a 16-year-old? Because I know for a fact I had never read anything like that in a Stephen King book, So it was one of those things where I was like, I wish I could just go back and remember reading that scene as a 16-year-old, being like, oh my God, So again, Ken Follett, amazing author, and this is just a great journey going through this. And I'm just so happy. I'm saying I don't want to presume it's because I'm reading it, but seeing so many people that are picking it up for the first time and loving it just as much. I'm very excited about all the people that are picking up or who have bought the book. They plan on to read it and stuff based off, what I and several other people have said about how great the book is. Yeah, it's amazing, guys. It's amazing, and it's only been even better on this reread. So I'm having a great time with it, and I cannot wait to see what he does with all these sequels, because I've had many people tell me they are as good, if not better, in some places as Pillars of the Earth. So Kingsbridge, more of that in 2024. Recording this a little late today, guys, because I read about 200 pages of this morning. Almost finished. I'm almost finished. Got these two chonkers going at the same time. I'm afraid I don't have very much new stuff to talk about this week as far as what I'm reading. But this, I'm just going to say, guys, I think I might like this better than the first one, which is impressive. Because, even though he hasn't kind of committed to saying it's only going to be 3 books at this point, you always kind of have that worry about sophomore slump, middle book syndrome if it does turn out to be a trilogy, things like that. Not the case here. I think he's taken the world and the characters that he created in that first one. He's added some new characters in this that I've really grown to love in this one. And I'm having a great time with it. And it's going to be very, very sad here that I'm going to have to enter the long wait again for whatever book number 3 ends up being called. But yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited to talk to you guys about this when I can. Again, I'll probably put out my Goodreads written review beforehand, but I don't know how much I'll really talk about it, because I did do that for the for Lightbringer, and I got so many people pissed off because I told them that the book took place in space, and apparently that was a spoiler. So I don't know how much I'll do that. I might just do like a quick thoughts kind of thing on Goodreads and say my full review is coming on release date, but my actual video review, I'll do like I always do, guys, and I'll do it on release day, because I just feel like that's the way that it should be. But I know Jay Kristoff has got a very busy schedule, and we've kind of talked about working some things out leading up to the release of the book, about him making a return visit to the channel, us chatting about some things. So always welcome on this channel, because Jay, awesome guy, and he might be just as good of a writer, because I'm really enjoying this book. Can't wait for you guys to read it. I started Son of Neptune with my youngest. I kind of told you guys last week that he fell asleep, but he was so excited to see Percy Jackson back. He's kind of upset with this so far, because I think the first book in Heroes of Olympus, Rick Riordan introduced 3 new characters, and it took almost that whole book for my son to accept those new characters, because he just wanted his 3 from the original trilogy, the original series. So used to talking about Star Wars, I guess. And with this book number 2, has started off, he's got Percy back. He's excited. But now we've got these 2 new characters, Frank and Hazel, that are POV characters. And he's like, will this guy make up his mind about what characters he wants to write about? So I get it. He hasn't read a ton of fantasy, obviously, and stuff, guys. He's not used to that. He's not getting introduced over and over to new characters. It's hard for him. He's like, you spend this time making me care about these new characters. Why'd you just take them away again? So he's a little frustrated with that, but he is overly excited for Percy Jackson to be back at the center of the story. So we'll see how that progresses And I'm telling them, hey, maybe this is going to be one of those things where, last book did this one does this, and then book 3, maybe, is going to be the culmination. But, kids are very impatient with things like that. So I don't want to say he's down on it, but he's not as optimistic on it as he was when we ended Hero of Ages, because, he's excited that he likes those new characters, and now he's got Percy back, and now those characters are gone. So he's getting a little annoyed, a little frustrated with it, but I always tell him, trust the process. Trust the process. Rick Riordan's wrote like 40 of these books. I'm pretty sure he's done something right. So just hang tight, just hang with me. But that's where he's at right now. I think it's fun, as I always have. But again, I'm used to books that introduce a billion new characters every book, because I read a lot of epic fantasy. But that's really all I got going on for what I am reading, guys. But there are some things I plan to read. Now, obviously, again, finish Pillars, finish Empire of the Damned. It is Thanksgiving week here in the States. So you think, hey, cool, we're going to have some extra time. Well, not always, guys, because, that is very much a family holiday, and I'm going to be spending a ton of time reading when it is a family holiday and the kids are off of school. I do get to work from home this week, though. That's really nice. But, they'll be here, so it'll be double work. But I'll finish those, and then I get to start this bad boy, which is the penultimate book in the Expanse series, which I am beyond hyped to do. I think the way that I've kind of lined it up is I want to be able to read this and then head right into December and read the last book in the series, Leviathan Falls. That's kind of how I've lined it up to do that. So that's why I didn't mind reading these big, beefy books in the middle of the month. That way I could kind of roll right into it. And then I could do that, and then I can do the next Realm of the Eldlings book and continue with that fine road to finishing up those 2 long series. Very excited to return to the Expanse. Took a month off of it after, book number 7 had kind of a pretty big cliffhanger, and taking a month off of it for spooky season was pretty rough, and then pushing this all the way back to the end of the month. But I think the reason I did that is because that's what I planned to do with Dust of Dreams and Crippled God and Malazan. Was everybody always says you got to read those together, and I'm like, well, that's like 3,000 pages, But I always want to try to end one month and then kind of roll into the new one the next month. So the Expanse, maybe that's not the best comparison because it is a little easier to read than Malazan is, but that is kind of the plan right now, is treating books number 8 and 9 almost as like one book. So finishing here in November and leading into December with book number 9. But that's really all I've got going on with what I'm going to read. Let's talk about this week on the channel. There were a couple of things. I don't know if you guys have kind of noticed, I have kind of reduced the amount of content, and I hope that you guys are okay with that. I was kind of becoming an asshole around the house. Almost 4 years of doing 4 videos a week. It was really just making me grumpy sometimes, and I felt like there was some things, maybe I was oversaturating things a little bit. So I said I'm going to kind of slide down to 3 videos a week, and I've kind of made that silent transition the last few weeks. So I have had a couple people be like, you're only putting out like a couple videos a week. Is everything okay? Yes, that's intentional. Like I said, I did want to scale it back just a touch. Obviously, I feel like I'm still putting as much time and attention in this channel as always. But what I've always said is I kind of want to focus on quality over quantity. And, that's just kind of the method that I wanted to make sure I held myself to. So I have kind of started to reel it back just a little bit. There might be weeks where 4, maybe 5 videos do come out. But as of right now, I think just going down to like 3 videos a week it's been better for everybody. That way no one feels pressured that they have to watch everything. I don't feel like I'm oversaturating my audience on those things. And, obviously I'm not burning the candle at both ends if it does turn out to be a really busy week. But that said, we did get out a couple of videos this week. 2024 standalones and palette cleansers as we continue our 2024 preview. November is always the 2024 preview, and December is always November is the preview videos. December is the year-end closeout videos. That's the way I like to do it. So 2024 standalones and palette cleansers. Sometimes we get locked into these big, long series, and you need something kind of small, or just necessarily small, but just maybe a change of pace from those big fantasy series. And they're not all standalone, so I also call them palette cleansers, which is hilarious when some of those books on there are very, very long books. But Lonesome Dove was one last year, and it was it might end up being my book of the year, who knows. It's just that sometimes you need a change of pace, you need a change of direction, and some of these series you can not necessarily treat them as standalone, but you don't feel like you need to read them back to back to back to back to enjoy them, I think. So that's why I got another Lonesome Dove book on there. That's why I've got something like Shogun on there. You got these big, long books, but it is a change of pace that you might need sometime. But I also have some other things on there that I think you guys should check out if you're looking for some things that are not fantasy. The reason I don't have any fantasy on there is because you guys know that standalone fantasy is kind of a unicorn at this point. Most fantasy is long series. So I did so many fantasy books on the new series I want to begin in 2024. So I want to kind of put a spotlight on horror, on thrillers, on what else I have on. I have westerns on there. Some different genres that outside of just fantasy. So I think it's a good idea to kind of keep yourself from ever having fantasy burnout. Is to kind of switch genres once in a while, and that's kind of what that video does encourage, as well as some new things that I get to try next year. Because it's always exciting to check out some new worlds, right? And then I did a new Palaver video, Palaver, however you say it. I say it different every single time. Stephen King, obviously, favorite author ever. And a series I started like 2 years ago was Stephen King Palaver, where we just talk about, I talked to another fellow constant reader about, what makes Stephen King special to us, what makes his book so inspiring, and then just kind of shoot the shit about what books we love, what things we love, our favorite this, our favorite that, our least favorite this, most underrated book, all that kind of stuff. Well, I had Madison Goodyear on this time, who, as you guys may know, is a really close friend of mine. She's kind of been on a little bit of a sabbatical from book 2, so I said, hey, you want to get your feet wet and jump back in? I would be happy to have you as my guest, and she did come on because, a couple years back, she hadn't read any Stephen King. Now she's read about 30 Stephen King books, so I felt like I could, safely call her a constant reader at this point, but there's still so much stuff that, we both want to read. I mean, I haven't read everything by Stephen King, and I've talked about that in that video about why I haven't read everything by Stephen King, but I still do intend to. So always a fun conversation. Anytime I get to talk to Madison, it's a lot of fun because, we talk all the time, so it's just natural for us to get on camera and talk about, something that we both love, like Stephen King, and it's always a great time to talk with her. And the guys, those are spoiler-free. We don't spoil anything in that, so if you haven't read every Stephen King book, you're safe. It's just, again, us talking about why we think Stephen King is so special as an author. And I hope I can bring that series back more consistently than I have, because I think that's only like my 4th episode. I talked to Durfee, I talked to ℙ𝕦𝕣𝕠𝕠𝕜𝕤, and I talked to Sarah over Sarah Reads, and now Madison. So if you're a fellow booktuber and you're a big time constant reader, drop me a line. Maybe we can get together sometime soon. No Mike's Media reviews this week, guys, because me and my wife haven't watched anything. We have not watched anything. We said we were going to watch Fall of House of Usher. We didn't. We said we were going to finish 1883, and we didn't. There's several things we said we were going to do, but we just had one of these weird things. We have Nintendo Online. You guys know what that is? On the Switch. It's where you can have a Sega Genesis, N64, Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo games that you can. They just put like a mix of them out there every once in a while. That changed every month. You can play it. And just out of the blue, I was like, sometimes you feel like you just got to go back to basics and just go back to almost like where it began. So I started playing Super Mario World from Super Nintendo, which is one of the most replayable games of all time. And she grabbed the second controller and she started playing, and we've just been playing that all week. I think we just finished The Force of Illusion, so it's such a great game, just a timeless game, and all generations love it. My kids were jealous that we're playing it, because they just want to play. So we're like, okay, well, me and Mom finished, and you guys can play, So it's just, that's been kind of all we've been doing this week as a family. We've been playing Super Mario World. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and seeing the kids talk about how the games were impossible and things like that. Well, Nintendo Online has a thing where you can, you die, you can back it up a few seconds and try again. So they get to cheat. They never know the real pain of trying to get through some of those fortresses and stuff. But a ton of fun doing that. But that's why we haven't done any Mike's Media reviews this week. But we were talking about now that we're doing that, we're talking about doing some post-credits episodes. We're talking about some video games, So if you guys are interested in hearing us talk about some classic video games, I think that could be kind of fun. I don't know. We're just kind of putting up in the air since we haven't actually watched anything. I was a guest over on Beard of Darkness. Matt, perfect gentleman, he's been saying he wanted to have me on. I was like, absolutely. And we had this date set, and it was like, oh, okay, well, cool. Now we got to wait like 2 months. So I thought I scheduled far ahead. He scheduled really, really far ahead. Had me on a discussion over there with him and Tori from Tori Talks, who just had her book released, by the way. Congratulations, Tori. It's really, really awesome. And Matt, Go Reads. Is that what you call it? Go Reads? Yeah, that Cajun stuff's really confusing to me being here in Texas. I see the Cajun stuff everywhere, and I don't pretend I can understand it. But, he's an LSU fan. We're not going to hold that against him. Matt is a great guy. Go Dogs. But hey, it was a lot of fun having that conversation, and Matt just kept just Beard Matt. Well, they both got beards. Okay, Beard of Darkness Matt just kept like talking about how great me and Tori and Matt were. I was like, I'm gonna come on your channel anytime I'm having a rough day and I need a confidence booster. So again, a great conversation. I had a blast with it. It's one of those things, guys. Is everyone's like, wow, how did you get Mike on your channel? So I'm like, they asked me. You'd be surprised, guy, how little I get asked to come on people's channels. I get asked all the time to do like these 30-second, 1-minute cameos, when they put all their compilations together. But outside of just like being invited on as a guest, not a ton. So again, if you don't ask me, I can't come on your channel. That's the way that I look at it. So thank you, Matt, for asking me. It was a ton of fun, and I hope to do it again sometime. It was really, really enjoyable for me to get to just hang out and just have a good time. And like I always say, I love being a guest on other people's channel because I don't have to edit anything. And that's where the real fun is. How about some next week plans, guys? I am going to continue with my 2024 preview stuff. And the last one that I have is talking about my most anticipated books of 2024. Now, I had to look hard at this because I was like, damn, I don't know if there's anything really I want to read in 2024 that's like really comes off the top of my head besides Empire of the Damned, and I'm lucky enough to have been able to read that already, or almost be done reading it already. So that'll probably get an honorable mention just for the fact that I know if I don't mention it, everyone will ask me, hey, what about Empire of the Damned? So I don't know. That list, I have yet to compile it, so we'll have to kind of look ahead to, I can think about a handful, of series that have been kind of continuing or ongoing. I think that I'd be excited about for next year, but I don't know. I have to kind of look around and see what my most anticipated are going to be, because I can't think of any really off the top of my head, but I know once I start looking at it, I'm like, oh, of course that's one I'm very, very excited for next year. Spoiler, Winds of Winter, Doors of Stone will not be on said list. So there we go. A little bit of a spoiler for you guys. And then it's just looking ahead to my December 2023 reading plans, a TBR for the month of December. Got an ambitious kind of schedule here. Is you try to wrap up a lot of things before you get to the new year. But again, if you don't get to them all, like I said, I'm going to be getting my series wrapped up. Actually, I think Assassin's Fate might roll into January, depending. And then it just depends. Like there's a book I'm waiting for from Kickstarter. I don't know if it's going to actually come out in December. Originally that was a plan, but with Kickstarter, I don't know if you guys have dealt with them very much. They don't always work kind of, what the original plan was. So sometimes things are way more successful than what originally, thought was going to be, and that kind of delays things a little bit. But if I do get that book, that'll be on there, as well as everything else that I plan to read in December. And like I said, Mike's Media Reviews, I think me and my wife are devising some ideas away from just like what we're watching. Maybe we can talk about what we're playing, something like that. A couple of TV and movie talk things before I go, guys. I don't usually talk about this because I've been out on the MCU since Endgame. Besides Spider, I read the writing on the wall. I was like, it's not going to get better from here. This is the peak of the mountain. Now we're hitting the downward slope. It was very, very easy for me to see, and I understand that a lot of people weren't ready to let go yet, and that's why they've kind of grown disappointed over the last few years. It's you never want to leave the party. I get that, but it was like this is it. Do you like this morning they talked about next Avengers movie, and they talked about like 3 new Avengers, and my son, 11 years old, big time Avengers fan, was like, who? Who are these people? So it's just, I don't know. I feel like where the MCU's at now is you're dealing with a bunch of characters that no one cares about. And I think when they had the big hit with Guardians of the Galaxy, it made them believe, well, we can make anything popular now. So I think that was proven wrong, because the Marvels had the lowest opening in MCU history, adjusted down this morning to $46.1 million. Which, a lot of movies be like, hey, it's great. This movie had a $300 million budget, after reshoots, after marketing, all that stuff. And they've talked about it needs to make about $600 million just to break even. It's not going to break even. It's really bad news. It's really bad news. And to me, it's just like, I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to sit here and drag it. I haven't seen any of this stuff. Like I said, besides Spider-Man and Guardians, I haven't watched anything since Endgame. So I think I watched about 45 minutes of Thor: Love and Thunder, and I couldn't take it anymore. But it's one of those things where, like, guys, if you're still enjoying it, I'm not trying to be a wet blanket. Just people always ask me about this, so I'm going to tell you what I think. After the MCU flops this year, and after the Indiana Jones flop, is anything going to change at Disney? This is the point where I'm like, I've been saying for 3 years, once they start hemorrhaging money, stakeholders are going to kind of be like, all right, things need to change. So I've got to ask this is what it takes for things to change. Now, I've started to see, Variety and Deadline and Access, whoever, Hollywood Reporter, start to actually stop carrying water for the MCU and start to say, yeah, things are looking pretty grim. So I feel like that's the first one of it. But here's the deal. Even if they are now like, okay, it's time for a change of direction, it takes time, guys. It takes time. It takes a couple of years to swing back around, and we just coming off of a writer's strike, you're going to still see some stuff coming out. That's why we see the Marvels just completely did terrible, and on the same day, I think we see a trailer for Madam Web, a movie that absolutely no one asked for. Now, that's not the MCU. That's Sony, and Sony's always made bad non-Spider-Man movies just so they don't lose the rights to Spider-Man. So I get it from the business standpoint there, but it's just like they're making movies now, but it's like why are these things attacking the audience? You did this. You've made movies that your audience doesn't care about. You knew this. So I think you've made that bed, you've got to sleep in it. But here's the thing, is it still salvageable? I think so. You still got the X-Men. You haven't even used that yet. You got Blade, which from sounds of, they realized that they were screwing that one up and they're trying to fix that. So you got the Fantastic Four. You can turn it around. But the thing is, you've got to get back to making movies that your audience cares about. And I don't think that they're doing that at Disney anymore. But there's a point where there's got to be a breaking point. Someone has to get fired, and someone has to come in and say, it's time to start giving our audience what they want again. We're not going to change our audience. We need to give our audience what they want again. That's business 101. Do you want to make money, or do you want likes on Twitter? You got to make your decision. So I want to say, yes, there's people in charge over there that are smart enough to know this isn't a profitable scenario. And they're going to say, okay, things got to change. You'll start to see the budget for some of these movies come down. You'll start to see less of them. And you're going to start seeing them hire competent writers again. I want to believe that's going to happen. But again, it takes time, guys, because I think people realize how long it takes to make a movie. Just from pre-production to post-production, it's 2 to 3 year turnaround. So it's going to take a bit. So don't expect to see, hey, summer of 2024 be big difference. I really don't think so. So you're still going to see a lot of stuff. Plus, again, we're going to have a delay because of that writer's strike. So it's going to be a while. But I got to believe now they've read the tea leaves that everyone else could see. And they're going to say, we've got to make some changes. You'll start to see ideas for Star Wars movies come back out and things like that. They're going to start testing the waters, I think. They're going to start using focus groups and things that you are supposed to do as a viable company. That's what I believe as a business major. So there we go, guys. I don't have very much else. Someone asked me about the Avatar: The Last Airbender trailer. I never really watched that cartoon. My kid did, and he liked the trailer a lot. So I guess that's the audience they're going for. After One Piece, I believe anything's possible if you can adapt One Piece as well as they did. But I don't know how much the creators involved like it is with One Piece on this. The trailer looked cool to me. But I think I've only watched like 2 episodes of Avatar the cartoon, like ever. So if you guys are excited about it, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. I hope it does turn out well, because I would love to see some of these things adapted faithfully like One Piece was, because you can see the success of that. Hey, you're sitting on a gold mine. Maybe we should actually do that faithfully and please that audience. So again, give the people what they want, and that's what I try to do here, but I'm not doing that by letting this go to almost 25 minutes here. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the weekend, but I want you guys to drop in the comments, let me know what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you're playing, what you're watching, all of those fun things, and have yourselves an awesome and safe holiday weekend.